Hey everyone, I'm going ahead making this video for my 300 subscriber special. Uh, like I said in live stream, I'm doing this because people wanted to know kind of what I was like before the red pill, like what was my red pill moment and that sort of thing. Well, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna put out this video. This was what I was like before the red pill, but like as I was eyeballing it. So go ahead and enjoy.
Hello, everyone. You can go ahead and call me Clear Mind. I'm here to talk about feminism and its other, we'll say, counter movements such as MGTOW, MRA, whatever, whatnot, as well as its sister movements like the, Dead Fish Lady, so on and so forth. I want to go ahead and address a major issue straight out the gate. From what I have seen from mainstream media, and as well as from interacting with feminists online through forums, Twitter, so on, so forth, just all sorts of social media, and also looking at how social media has been handling this situation. Well, I gotta say, a lot of feminists try to say that feminism isn't about man-hating, and they can talk the talk, but they sure as hell aren't walking the walk on this. Um, every time I have engaged with a feminist and actually asked them, well, what is feminism to you? I've gotten pretty much three different types of answers. You've got the first one, which is the most prominent, which is, well, why don't you do some research and figure out what feminism's about, or just pick up a dictionary? Well, I picked up the dictionary. And by the dictionary definition, well, from what I've been looking through with my research and looking at statistics, so on and so forth, if you're going by the dictionary definition for feminism, feminism's no longer needed. Uh, I mean, I'm not just going off of research, but also with my personal experiences and the experiences of those around me, both taking into account men and women. Just observing the world around me, I've seen it. Um, More often than not, women are dominating relationships. They're definitely dominating schools right now. I mean, just take a look at how vastly disproportionate the amount of men versus women are in colleges. And that's just in the US. I mean, I've heard horror stories up in Canada where guys have felt completely and totally out of place at an institution where you go to learn because of the fact that they were so underrepresented. And I'm not talking about minority guys. I'm just talking about guys in general. I'm not even going to get into, race politics at this point. I'm going to go ahead and stick to the gender politics portion of this, which is kind of sad that I have to make that statement, because if feminism is really about the equality of rights for women, why are you bringing race into this? Race shouldn't matter. But that's beside the point. Now, when I interact with feminists, I've interacted with a few moderate feminists, and they have actually been somewhat personable, and at least can be borderline reasonable. I mean, for the most part, they actually are willing to engage with other people and not only try to get their point of view across, but also listen to the other person's points of view. Feminists, I'm talking to the radicals now. If you are wanting to try to change someone's mind or perspective, yelling and screaming at them is not the way to do it. If you want to change their perspective or try to get them to see your perspective, the best way to do it is to talk to them, not at them, and to listen to what they're saying, not so you can sit there and say, oh, well, that's sexist. As soon as a feminist pulls that out, it's the same as online if you just insult someone out of nowhere. At that point, people are going to look at you and go, well, you're stooping down to this level. Why would you do that if you actually have a point? Well, that's the question now, isn't it? Now, I look at feminism and its claims, and I look at their quote-unquote evidence. And at best, it's soft evidence, and it's always full of confirmation bias. Whenever you're sitting there and looking at feminist quote-unquote studies, there's always room for bias in it. Whereas on the flip side of the coin, for the most part, everything that proves feminism wrong is hard science. It's right there. You cannot deny these numbers. Not unless you're a conspiracy nut, which I am not. Now, do I think that governments are honest with everyone? No, I'm not one of those dipshits. Alright, so don't even try to go there. However, I do believe that there are organizations in a government that don't really need to lie. Because if they're going for shock value, all they have to do is tell the truth. And this is going to bring me to my first point. If feminism is, as feminists say, really for both men and women, then why is it that I only hear feminists complaining about issues that only affect women in a negative way? Why do I not hear them talking about the unfair marriage and divorce laws, the unfair child laws that allow women that obviously are not fit mothers? I'm not saying that all women are not fit mothers, but I'm saying the ones that are just completely unfit, yet they still have an easier time of getting their children than a man. And that's even if it's stark night and day difference. This woman, is absolutely horrendous, loud, obnoxious. And I'm not talking about loud and obnoxious as in shaking up the formula. I'm talking about loud and obnoxious as she insults everyone, including the kids. Maybe the guy even has proof that she has physically abused the kids in the past, that she leaves the kids alone, whatever, whatnot. And then you've got this guy who wants these kids, and wants to actually take care of them, wants to do right by them, and wants to actually make sure that they're safe. He has to fight tooth and nail to get those kids. Yet, this woman has to just sit there and, for the most part, sit in court and say, why should I have my kids? My vagina. Wow. Okay. If feminism's really about equality, then how about get rid of that mentality? How about we get rid of the mentality that if you have the vagina, you are right, and if you have the penis, you are wrong and evil? Let's go ahead and, at least extend that olive branch. That would be a good step forward. But I'm not going to hold my breath on this, especially with things like the hashtag kill all men, which I know a lot of women are saying, oh, well, that was just a few radicals. No, it was quite a few people backing that, and I know that some of them were trolls. However, not all of them were trolls, and there are a lot of feminists that are actually going out there and directly saying that men need to be exterminated or their numbers need to be severely reduced, and that will solve the world problems. Now, as a man, that's horrifying to hear, because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not the most attractive guy out there. And I know that mystical little 10% that they're talking about are going to be like movie stars and magazine models and so on and so forth. Those hyper masculine guys. And it's funny to me that all the guys that are trying to ally with feminism, and I'm saying trying because they can never truly ally, because they're still treated like shit. It's just they're willing to take it. But these guys that are doing that, I'm pretty much going to guarantee you they're just trying at this point to seem like the lesser of the evils, so that way they can try to fight against, human nature of going after the most attractive person you can find. All right, so that's kind of understandable. I mean, it's a viable tactic, so I'm not dogging on those guys, and I'm not sitting there saying, "Oh, traitor, traitor." Nah, I'm not going to do that. I mean, if you're looking to get laid, do what you got to do, man. Do what you got to do. As long as it's legal and as long as it's not morally reprehensible, go for it. But women, as long as feminism is taking this path, and I'm not talking strictly to feminists here, I'm talking about even to women who are anti-feminists, I'm talking about to women who really don't give a shit. Well, you need to start giving a shit. Because as long as feminism is doing this, we're going to continue to see lower and lower and lower marriage rates. That time of the, knight in shining armor coming in and you marrying him and him taking care of you and that sort of thing, and then after you've used him up, you being able to trade up for a younger model and people say, "Oh yeah, that's awesome, good for you, you go girl." Yeah, that's over. Now it's getting to the point where men are saying, well, if I'm only going to be used for utility, then guess what? I'm going to demand that you provide utility for me. And instead of me giving you a take everything pass known as marriage, I'm going to sit there and say, all right, well, I'll take you out on a couple dates. If you don't put out, then fuck off. And this doesn't particularly play well with a lot of women nowadays. Because we're going to go on to the next portion here. And that is, ladies, men do not tell you what to find attractive. Men change themselves to try to become more attractive. That is how it works. Why the hell should you be able to tell men what is attractive to men? Why? For what purpose on the planet should guys agree to that? What? Are you going to stop giving us sex? Well, here's the thing. With CGI as it is, even if we cannot find a single woman on the planet that would be willing to do porn, which I guarantee you we will be able to, by the way, because there are some women out there that actually legitimately enjoy sex and have no problems with people watching. And have no problems with, random guys fucking them. If you decide, oh, well, no man's going to get laid, well, that just means that the ladies who don't agree with you are going to keep putting out. They're going to be the ones that get pregnant. They're going to be the ones that are going to be raising children. And the thing is at that point, your movement dies. It will eventually die off. And not to mention, governments won't exactly be incredibly happy with you at that point. Even if it's female-run, feminist-run governments, because eventually, with an aging society, you run into some issues. We're seeing that in Japan. Women over there got to the point where they were expecting men to go out, work, 12, 13, 14-hour-long days, and then come home and get yelled at by the wife, or, just wear themselves out, not taking any time off. And it's gotten to the point now where men over there have been checking out for a long time. MGTOW is not the first rendition of this. The herbivore movement is. And so, have you been wondering why there are so many, at least as far as the U.S. is concerned, or just most Western countries, a lot of, you know, oh, import an Asian bride, or import a Russian bride, or so on and so forth. I mean, at that point, it really does seem like sex trafficking. I will agree with pretty much anyone on that one. It does. But the thing is those women have gotten themselves into that situation. And now that feminism has become so prominent in Western culture, we're going to start seeing that here. And there's really not many places left. I mean, hell, we're starting to see it with ISIS. Holy crap, all right? There are women that are volunteering to go over there knowing that they're not going to have a choice in who they marry. They don't care. They know that they're going to be viewed as nothing but homemakers, period, end of story, and sex objects. But they don't care. Women are starting to run to organizations like ISIS. ISIS to get away from you, feminism. Take that in. ISIS is starting to appeal to people more than feminism. ISIS is appealing to young women more now and more than even staying in a country that is dominated by feminism. Now, there are some women that absolutely love feminism and girl power and all that until it comes down to actually being treated equal. Women keep saying, I just want to be treated like a man. I just want to be treated like a man. Fine. Guys aren't going to have a problem with that. We've already been proving this. But here's the thing. You don't want to be treated like a man. You want all the benefits of being a man without any of the downfalls. And there are downfalls, ladies. There are plenty of them. I've been a man since I was born. I was one of those ones that had to grow up quick. And I'm going to tell you right now, it has not been a cakewalk in any way, shape, or form. In fact, here I am. I just turned 30 not too long ago. I'm still struggling at this point. I mean, I'm not doing horrendously bad for myself, but I am still struggling. I mean, I'm definitely not the type of guy that you're going to go ahead and go out and say, hey, would you want to go out? No, I'm one of those ones that has to sit there and go way out of my way to try to find a woman who isn't judgmental just for me to stand a chance. So that's the situation I'm in. So take that as you will. But I wanted to be upfront and honest about that. Now, I also have friends who are those types of guys that, you know, gold diggers, they go after them hard. I've seen it happen, and quite frankly, I don't envy those guys. I mean, yeah, they can go ahead and go out, get laid at any given moment at the drop of a hat with a snap of a finger, all right? And whatever. They're not happy because they can't find someone that they can trust other than guys. Because guys, yeah, they know that there are guys that envy their money, but there's no legal way of a guy stealing their money. Whereas with a woman, legalized theft of a man's money and assets is also known as marriage. And if that's a foreign concept to you, or if you're just sitting there rolling your eyes, let me put it to you this way. I'll give you two scenarios. All right? Actually, no, I'll give you three. All right? Three scenarios. We'll go ahead and check the differences and similarities between them when I'm done. Scenario 1. Man and a woman get married, right? They're happy, so on and so forth. Well, the man ends up cheating on the woman. Right? Maybe he's got a hot secretary and that moment of weakness, whatever, whatnot. All right? He's at fault there. I'm not arguing against that. Well, what happens in the divorce proceedings? Well, let's go ahead and say that there aren't kids involved here. They're just married. Well, the woman gets half of everything. All right? Regardless of her input, whether she had a job or whether she's never worked a day in her life, she gets half of everything. Half of the house. If they have 2 cars, she gets one of the cars, usually the more expensive of the 2. If the guy has account, set aside for retirement, she gets half of that. Whatever. All right, she gets half of everything. All right, and that's fine because the guy, he cheated on her. He broke the contract. Fine. I understand that. I get that. I'm for it. Now, let's go ahead and flip the script. Let's say the guy goes to work, he comes home early. We're going to go with this old trope, all right? He goes home early, and he finds her in bed with, some random bumfuck, all right? Now, what happens in court? Let's say the guy is able to hold his temper, keep his cool, and not kill both of them on the spot, all right? What happens in court? Well, the woman still gets half of everything regardless of her contribution. And in both cases, she still gets alimony. This is an issue because she broke the contract. Why should the man have to suffer the consequences of her breaking the contract? And that's the thing. That is part of the contract, is that you will not cheat. You will forego all others. You will forsake them for your spouse. That is the contract, and that goes both ways. Yet, for some odd reason, the woman yet again benefits, even though she is the one who broke the contract. Now, let's go ahead and go with the third scenario. And I'm going to use a real-life example here. My ex babysat for one of her female friends. Her female friend was married, obviously, or else she wouldn't be in this conversation. But she babysat for her, and this woman, she spent. This guy, he had disability because he had hurt his back at his job, and he had a very difficult job, but a job that paid well. So even his disability still brought in a lot of money. But his wife spent. He somehow managed to make it work. He was the one balancing the books. He was the one trying to figure all this shit out. And somehow he managed to keep pulling them out of the gutter. Well, one day, he gets served papers from his wife for a divorce. Now, that sounds like a piece of shit thing in and of itself. It's all like, what the fuck? This guy's sitting there allowing you to do whatever you want, and you're not out working. You're not doing anything. You're not even taking care of your kids at home. Right? So you can't even say, oh, well, she was a hardworking mother. And I ended up seeing her at a party that me and my ex went to. And I ended up asking, why she divorced him. Because I was honestly curious. I was thinking, well, maybe there's something I'm not knowing here. Maybe he hit her, whatever, whatnot. I was giving her the benefit of the doubt. Because just out of nowhere doesn't really jive too much with this. And her reply set me into a rage. Like, it made me and my ex get into a fight with each other. We got into a screaming match over it when we got home. Because I told this woman, and I use the term woman lightly, exactly what I thought of her. She said the reason why she divorced him why she left him, why she was taking alimony from him, as well as child support, because somehow he was seen as a less fit father, even though he spent more time with his children than she ever did. Somehow, she had the audacity to say that her valid reason was that she got bored with the marriage. Let me reiterate that. She got bored. Do you think that a man who cheats on his wife is not bored with the relationship? Think about it. If that is a valid defense for a woman, it should be just as valid a defense for a man. That is equality. But no, we don't have that. What do we have? We have these people trying to say, oh, well, it's okay for a woman to get bored because women need romance, women need this, women need that. You don't need shit. You don't need anything more or less than what men need. Period. End of story. At least that's how it is if you believe in equality. If you honestly believe that men and women are not different in any way, shape, or form, why is it then that a woman's sexuality is placed on a pedestal while a man's is dragged through the dirt? Why is it okay for a woman to have sexual preferences, but not a man? There is no valid reason. There never will be. It is unbalanced. It is not equal. And I know that there are going to be a lot of people that are going to say, oh, listen to this misogynistic pig. For one, I don't hate women. So don't throw out misogynistic. Don't throw out sexist, because the thing is I already said I think guys that cheat are a piece of shit. I'm not being one-sided. What I'm saying is you cannot have equality when you have double standards. You can't. And I will stand by that statement. Now, if you want to try to argue that, well, maybe he should have tried more, how was he supposed to try more when she wasn't around? And there's no doubt in my mind she was cheating on him. There were several times where I kind of got those red flags. Because if I had a day off and my ex was going to go and babysit, I would actually go with her. Even though it was my day to relax, I would wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go and babysit with her until 7 o'clock at night. I would give up my entire day to go and help my ex. And my ex did get paid for that, because that was the only work she was doing. My ex did get paid for that. And here's the thing. She always spent that money on herself. Even if I went and helped, because when I went, those kids wanted me to play with them. They didn't want her to play with them because they said she was boring. That should have told me right there my ex was a little off. But hey, whatever, right? They like to play with me. I'm a pretty goofy guy when it comes to kids. You know, I can be a big kid. That's fine. I mean, it wasn't like I was being tortured at that point. Except whenever you have to watch kid shows. When you have to watch kid shows, that's torture. I don't care who you are. And if you're saying it's not, then you're a liar and you should have your mouth washed out with soap. But when this whole situation came to light and my ex started defending her, that's when I knew the relationship wasn't going to work out. The reason why I knew this was because if she could defend something like that, what else could she defend? Honestly. And men are starting to look at women that way. They're looking at what all these things that feminism does. Even if a woman is not a feminist, feminism is associated with being feminine, right? You know, that's kind of in the name. So men are looking at women as all either potential or hiding feminists. And it's getting to the point where guys are getting tired of feminism. And I'm not saying getting tired of feminism as in, oh, it's getting old. We're getting tired of feminism because of the double standards. We're talking about the, you know, feminists trying to say, oh, women are just as strong and capable as men and deserve to easily get the same jobs that men get. And then demand that not only standards get lowered to allow these women to pass whatever test it is to get into these jobs. And only asking for the standard to be lowered for women, not for men. But then on top of that, asking for quotas saying that, well, these places should be forced to have this many women. Well, if that's the case, then there's kind of an issue there. But then, on top of all of that, women, while saying that in one argument, or even in the same, or earlier in the same argument, then if you get to the thing of, you know, a man defending himself against a woman, they're always the ones that say, a man should never hit a woman. A man should never hit a woman. There is no reason to hit a woman. Bullshit. If women are just as strong and just as capable as men, then if a woman attacks a man, that man should be able to hit her back just like he would hit another man back. Period. End of story. That is one of the double standards that most men, even men who aren't MRAs, who aren't MGTOW, who aren't involved in any movement, your average guy, alright? Basically any guy who is not a male feminist will sit there and say, well, if a woman hits a man, she's kind of instigating it there. But no. Feminists want women to be able to practice agency but not have the consequences of them. And the thing is consequences are both positive and negative. You can have positive consequences. You know? See, let's say I go ahead and I bake a cake. The positive consequence, I now have a tasty cake to eat. The negative consequences, well, I now no longer have those materials to put towards something else that may take those same materials. And I'm probably going to get fat from eating the cake because I don't have a whole lot of social interaction with other people anymore. I'm too busy to do that. I mean, I've got my schooling, I've got my job, I've got all this going on. In fact, the fact that I'm taking my time to record this right now, well, that should tell you a little bit about how strongly I feel about it. Because this is my little bit of spare time that I have in the week. I'm going to go ahead and leave it off here. I'll probably go ahead and make a few more videos at some point addressing other issues that happen involving feminism and so on and so forth. And by the way, as far as the whole social justice thing is concerned, I will more than likely be covering that as well, because you cannot address feminism anymore without addressing social justice. The two have been in bed so long with each other, they're married under common law. Alright? So, to those of you who made it through this entire ramble, thank you for listening. Hopefully, you liked the video. If you do, go ahead, leave a like, share it with your friends, whatever, whatnot. If you have any comments to make, go ahead and make them down in the comment section below. I'll try to check in the comments. If I see any bigotry whatsoever down in my comments, I will ban whoever instigates it. Do you understand? So no women are shit comments, and no men are worthless and deserve to die comments. Those comments will be deleted if I see them. So do not do that. I am not going to turn off my comments because I'm not going to completely censor everything. If you have a criticism of what I have said, that's fine. I will try to address it. But do not bring bigotry to the table, because I will not speak with you on that term. Period. End of story.
So, as you just heard, that was me from before the red pill, like as I was starting to go into it. Um, the thing is obviously some of my views have changed, but for the most part, not many. I was already starting down that path. I'd already had those views for quite a while, and so it's one of those situations of just now I'm noticing how prominent it is, and I think that's the biggest thing that's changed about me. Also, as I've gotten older, I'm realizing that what I used to think bigotry was is not actually bigotry in any way, shape, or form on a lot of the shit. So, whatever. But thank you all for watching. Thank you to the 300 people who subscribed to me and all the support that you guys give. I definitely appreciate it. Have yourselves a great day. I'll talk to you all later.